second day of 4.4, we learned how to do fundamental theorem of calculus. We learned how to deal with integrals like problem number 1. In fact, that problem number 1 is the integral that we, on day 8, was our last problem. We've already done this, so we know this answer is going to be 9/2 or 4.5. So how do we do it on our calculator? So definite integral on your calculator. I've got both calculators here ready to go. We're going to try this out. We're going to see what happens. So I'm going to start this time with the 84. If I want to do this, there's a couple of ways I can do it. One way that I can do it is I could do it graphically so that I can see it. So I'm going to start by going into my y equals, and I'm going to punch in that function, negative x squared plus dx. And I'm going to graph it. So there's my graph. Now, I can see that it looks like, well, I know from what's given to me in the problem, my bounds are 0 and 3. So here's what I do. I go into my favorite menu, which is my calculate menu. Second, hit the trace button for calculate menu. This time we're going to pick number 7. We've never done number 7. That's integral f of x dx. Even though it doesn't look like it has bounds on it, that's the one that we want. My lower bound, I'm going to punch in 0. My upper bound, or in this calculator is calling it the upper limit, I'm going to call it 3. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to shade it, and it's going to tell my area is going to be 4.5. Okay, so there on the here's one way on my 84. Another way on my 84 is I can go into my math menu. Now this, there's going to be some pitfalls with doing this graphically. There's nothing wrong with doing it this way. And the thing that's nice is it shades in what your area is. There will be some issues that we will have with this down the road. Right now we're going to be okay, but down the road, when we get to chapter 6 and chapter 7, we'll start having some trouble with this. So here's another way to do it. So let's just quit out of there, go to our plain screen. Another way to do it, hit your math button. Math button. Scroll down a little bit. There's my n derived to find derivatives. There's number 9 is my function integral. I want the integral of this function. What function do I want? Negative x squared plus 3x. Or if I already had it stored as y1, I could put a y1 there. Comma. What variable am I integrating with respect to? I'm integrating with respect to x, according to the variable I chose, followed by a comma. What are my bounds? My lower bound is 0, comma, my upper bound is 3. Lower bound is 0, upper bound is 3. Hit enter. There's my area under my curve, which is going to be 4.5. So there it is on the 84 calculator. What's it look like on the Inspire? On the Inspire, same idea. I could start by going in and saying, all right, I'm going to graph this first. I'm obviously just on my scratch pad. So let's punch in our equation. Negative x squared plus 3x. Enter. Graph it. There it is. Now if I want to do it graphically again, menu button. Analyze graph. Which one do I want? Looks like I want an integral. Look at that in that picture. It even looks like it's highlighted. Pick integral. What's my lower bound? I want my lower bound to be 0, so I'm going to hit 0. Notice you see it down there on the screen. It's kind of hard to see, but when I hit enter, it'll make that my lower bound. My upper bound, what's that going to be? It's going to be 3. Hit enter. There's my area under the curve, and I've got my area. So there's, and notice it says right here. Whoops, undo that. Undo that. That 4.5 is the area of that shaded region. So there it is graphically. If you don't want to do it graphically, here's what's nice on the Inspire. So I'm going to go to the other half of the scratch pad. Your template button right here. That template button is a pretty cool thing. Notice the one that I have highlighted right now is the one I use to find a derivative at a point. I want this one that says integral over here. I want that integral. I'm going to double click on that. I want to integrate from 0 to 3, and my function is negative x squared plus 3x, and I'm integrating with respect to x, and as soon as I hit enter, there's my area. So there it is algebraically on the Inspire. We just did it graphically on the Inspire, and it turned out to look like this. Going back into the lesson that we were working on, so either way, there's your calculator. We've got them set up. What about this problem number 2? So problem number 2 is going to be a little bit more exciting. The key with this one, when we go to do it, when we put it in here, we're going to need to find the absolute value. So I'm going to use my calculator to sort this one out. So we're going to have to find the absolute value. So I'm going to go back This time the Inspire is going to be a little bit quicker, and I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it algebraically. So let's go grab that template again. And I was supposed to be integrating from 0 tab 5 tab absolute value. Where do I get the absolute value on the Inspire? Go grab the template. Here's my absolute value template. And we're going to have to put that thing back in. I'm going to need to look up what my function is. X squared minus 5x plus 4. So we'll punch that in. X squared minus 5x plus 4. Tell it to integrate with respect to the variable x. Hit enter. There's my value, 8, and I think that's 8 1/6 if we wanted it to be. But anyway, 8.167 would get the job done. If I'm doing the same thing on my 84, I'd do the same thing. I would go get my function integral again. Now, I kind of like the idea. So math, I think it was 9 for function integral. We want absolute value. Where's absolute value this time? Math menu, over to number. Absolute value is the first thing. So choose that. And I think, if I remember right, and I should probably check it, but I'm not going to, x squared minus 5x plus 4. Close the parentheses on the absolute value, comma, x is my variable, comma, integrating from 0, comma, to 5, and you don't have to close those parentheses because they're at the end. Hit enter. There's my 8.167. So there we are. We now know how to do this both with and without our calculator.